The stars stretched across the viewport like scattered diamonds on black velvet, as the observation station Helios 4 hung in the void at the edge of the Milky Way. It was the year 2274, and humanity had expanded its reach to dozens of neighboring star systems. The station, a massive array of interconnected modules and telescopic arrays, served as humanity's farthest outpost, a sentinel listening to the whispers of the cosmos. In the central communication hub, Dr. Maya Le sat hunched over her workstation, her dark eyes reflecting the glow of holographic data streams that flowed around her, like luminescent rivers. As the station's leading cryptographer, she had spent the last 3 years analyzing anomalous radio signals from unexplored regions of space. "Anything interesting today, Maya?" Captain Kyler Ramos asked as he entered the hub, his tall frame casting a shadow over her workstation. The ship engineer's face bore the weathered lines of someone who had spent decades navigating the harshness of space. Maya pushed a strand of hair behind her ear and gestured toward a pulsating waveform. "This signal keeps repeating with slight variations. I've been tracking it for weeks now." Before Kyler could respond, a metallic voice interrupted. "Dr. Le, I've completed the preliminary analysis you requested." The sleek form of Orion, an advanced AI assistant housed in a humanoid robot chassis, approached with silent steps. Its polished titanium surface reflected the blue emergency lights that lined the station's corridors. Kyler's expression hardened slightly. Despite the advances in artificial intelligence, he remained wary of robots like Orion. Too many memories of AI malfunctions during critical missions. "Thank you, Orion," Maya responded, taking the datapad from the robot's outstretched hand. "Have you informed Dr. Choi about our findings?" "Dr. Imani Choi has been notified and is on her way," Orion confirmed, its voice modulated to sound reassuringly human. The door to the hub slid open again, revealing Dr. Imani Choi, the station's xenobiologist. Her lab coat was wrinkled from what was likely another all-night research session. "Please tell me you found something that will justify our continued funding out here," she said with a tired smile. Maya's fingers danced across the holographic interface, expanding the waveform analysis. "I think I might have cracked the pattern. Watch this." The air above her workstation filled with a three-dimensional model of the signal. Maya manipulated the display, isolating specific frequency bands and applying her newly developed decryption algorithm. "The signal contains both linguistic patterns and image fragments," she explained, excitement building in her voice. "I'm calling it whisperf. It's definitely not random noise, and it's definitely not one of ours." The room fell silent as the implications settled over them. After centuries of searching, humanity might have finally detected evidence of an extraterrestrial civilization. "How confident are you?" Kyler asked, skepticism evident in his tone. 97%, Maya replied without hesitation. The mathematical sequences embedded within the signal follow universal constants, but arranged in ways that suggest deliberate communication. Imani stepped closer to examine the visual component Maya had extracted. "These patterns, they almost look biological, like cellular structures, but unlike anything I've studied before." The station's commander, Admiral Zhao, joined them minutes later. After a brief explanation, his weathered face grew serious. "I'm initiating protocol first contact. The research vessel Odyssey will depart within 48 hours to investigate the source." "Sir?" Maya questioned, surprised at the swiftness of the decision. "The Galactic Alliance has been waiting for this moment. Dr. Le," Admiral Zhao explained, "your team will lead the mission. Prepare your research and equipment." As the Admiral left, Maya exchanged glances with her colleagues. This was what they had trained for. Yet the reality of making first contact with an alien civilization felt overwhelming. "Well," Kyler said, breaking the silence, "I guess we better start packing." The next 2 days passed in a flurry of preparation. The Odyssey, a sleek exploration vessel equipped with the latest propulsion and research technology, was readied for its historic journey. Maya spent every waking hour refining her understanding of the whisper signal, while Imani prepared various first contact protocols based on theoretical xenobiology. Kyler, as the ship's chief engineer, conducted thorough inspections of all systems with Orion's assistance, though he insisted on double-checking the AI's work. Their professional tension was palpable, but both recognized the mission's importance overrode personal misgivings. On the day of departure, the four gathered on the Odyssey's bridge. Through the viewport, they could see Helios IV growing smaller as they accelerated toward the uncharted region where the signal originated. "Setting course for the Whisper F source," Kyler announced, his hands moving confidently over the navigation controls. "Estimated arrival in 17 days at maximum sustainable velocity." Maya nodded, her attention already focused on the signal monitor. "The intensity is increasing as we move closer. Whatever's generating this, it's powerful." The journey through the void was not without challenges. On the 7th day, as they navigated through an uncharted region of disturbed space-time, the Odyssey encountered its first serious obstacle. "Gravitational anomalies detected," Kyler called out, as alarms blared across the bridge. The ship shuddered violently, causing equipment to slide across surfaces and warning lights to flash throughout the vessel. "Engine efficiency dropping below 60%, Orion reported calmly, its metallic fingers moving rapidly across the engineering console. "Recommend immediate reduction in velocity." Kyler gritted his teeth. "I know how to fly my ship, machine." Nevertheless, he implemented the suggested correction, bringing the Odyssey to a safer speed. Maya gripped her station as another tremor shook the vessel. "What's happening?" "The space-time fabric is heavily distorted in this region," Kyler explained, fighting with the controls. "It's like trying to sail through a hurricane." For hours, the Odyssey battled against the invisible forces, threatening to tear it apart. Kyler and Orion worked side by side at the engineering station, their previous animosity temporarily set aside in the face of survival. "If we reroute power from the secondary systems," Orion suggested, "we can strengthen the structural integrity field." Kyler hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Do it." The crisis eventually passed, leaving the crew exhausted but intact. As they gathered in the ship's mess hall afterward, a newfound respect seemed to have formed between Kyler and Orion. "The robot's calculations saved us at least 3 hours of trial and error," Kyler admitted grudgingly to Maya as they shared a meal of synthesized protein. Maya smiled. "Orion's an advanced AI, Kyler, not just a machine." "Still doesn't have human intuition," he muttered. "Perhaps not," Maya conceded. "But today showed we need both human instinct and AI precision." Meanwhile, Imani had been analyzing the visual components extracted from the Whisper signal. As days passed, she made a breakthrough that called everyone to the research lab. "Look at this," she said, displaying a 3-dimensional model constructed from the signal's imagery. "I believe we're seeing a bioluminescent organism, something that communicates through light patterns." The hologram showed a translucent, plant-like entity that pulsed with internal light. Its structure defied terrestrial classification, with neither roots nor leaves in the conventional sense, but rather a network of interconnected luminous nodes. "If I'm right," Imani continued, excitement coloring her voice, "we're not just receiving a message, we're seeing an approximation of the messenger." Maya studied the image with growing fascination. "You're suggesting the signal itself contains a self-portrait of the sender?" "Exactly," Imani confirmed. "And look at this cellular structure. It suggests a form of existence fundamentally different from carbon-based life. These beings might perceive reality in ways we can't comprehend." The implications were staggering. Not only had they discovered evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence, but they might be dealing with a truly alien form of consciousness, one that experienced the universe through light and energy rather than matter. On the 15th day of their journey, Maya called the team to the observation deck. Through the reinforced viewport, they could see a distant star unlike any in their databases, a bluish-purple sun surrounded by a faint halo of luminous particles. "That's it," she said quietly. "That's the source of our whispers." As they approached the star system, sensors detected a planet orbiting at a distance similar to Earth's position from Sol. Unlike Earth, however, this world was shrouded in a glowing mist that shifted in patterns reminiscent of the signal they had been tracking. "Preparing to launch reconnaissance drones," Kyler announced, his fingers dancing across the control panel. 3 sleek, unmanned probes detached from the Odyssey, their small forms quickly disappearing into the distance as they sped toward the mysterious planet. "Drone telemetry coming online," Orion reported from its station. "Atmospheric composition analysis indicates a mixture of noble gases and unknown compounds. Temperature readings suggest—" The AI's report was cut short as the feed from the drones suddenly distorted. Static filled the screens, interspersed with flashes of color and fragments of data. "What's happening?" Maya demanded, moving to Orion's station. "The drones appear to be encountering some form of energy field," the AI responded, its synthetic voice betraying no emotion despite the apparent crisis. "Their systems are being overwhelmed by an external force." Before anyone could respond further, the drone feeds cut out completely. Seconds later, alarms blared across the bridge. "Energy surge detected," Kyler shouted. "Something's scanning us." Maya felt the hairs on her arms rise as an invisible force seemed to pass through the ship, through her, as if examining every molecule of their existence. The sensation lasted only moments, but left everyone on the bridge shaken. "Did we just get scanned?" Imani asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It appears so," Orion confirmed. "And now we're receiving a new transmission." Maya rushed to her station, where the signal analyzer was displaying a dramatically altered version of WhisperF. The rhythmic patterns had changed, becoming more complex, more urgent. "They've noticed us," she breathed. "They're responding to our presence." For the next several hours, Maya worked feverishly to interpret the new communications. The original pattern she had decoded served as a Rosetta Stone of sorts, allowing her to establish rudimentary understanding of the evolving message. "I think they're inviting us closer," she finally announced to the team gathered anxiously around her station. "But they're also warning us about something. The energy field, maybe?" Kyler frowned. "Are we really considering taking the Odyssey into that mist, after what it did to our drones?" "We came all this way," Maya reminded him. "This is literally first contact. Kyler, the most significant moment in human history. It could also be the last moment in our history if that field tears apart the ship," he countered. The debate continued until Imani suggested a compromise. "What if we prepare a smaller vessel, something carrying our response and basic information about humanity? A gift, essentially." The idea gained traction quickly. Within hours, they had repurposed one of the ship's shuttles as an unmanned messenger. Maya loaded it with carefully selected data, mathematical constants, basic human biology, images of Earth and its diverse life forms, and a specially designed response to WhisperF that conveyed peaceful intentions. "The shuttle is ready," Kyler announced as final preparations were completed. "But I still think this is a risk we don't need to take." "All exploration involves risk," Maya replied softly. "Humanity wouldn't have left Earth if we weren't willing to face the unknown." With solemn ceremony, they launched the shuttle toward the glowing planet. For several tense minutes, it proceeded without incident, transmitting telemetry back to the Odyssey. Then, as it approached the luminous atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The shuttle's engines suddenly flared with unusual intensity, as if fighting against an invisible current. Warning indicators flashed across the monitoring screens. "Power surge in the shuttle systems," Orion reported. "The energy field appears to be interfering with its propulsion." Can we abort? Maya asked urgently. Kyler shook his head, his expression grim. Negative. We've lost control. They watched helplessly as the shuttle began to tumble, its trajectory becoming erratic as it neared the planet's atmosphere. Suddenly, the telemetry feed exploded with data, readings off the charts, impossible energy signatures, and fragmented images that made no sense to human eyes. "It's going to break apart!" Imani exclaimed. But in that moment, something even more extraordinary occurred. The mist surrounding the planet seemed to reach out, tendrils of luminescence extending like fingers to envelop the failing shuttle. Rather than destruction, they witnessed what appeared to be a controlled deceleration. "They're helping it?" Kyler asked incredulously. Before anyone could respond, the main communication array erupted with activity. The whisper of signal transformed, taking on an audible quality that filled the bridge with ethereal sounds, somewhere between music and speech. Utterly alien, yet hauntingly beautiful. "The translator matrix is overloading," Maya reported, her fingers flying across her console. "The data density is exponentially higher than before." The holographic display at the center of the bridge flickered, and then resolved into a shape that drew gasps from everyone present. Floating before them was a three-dimensional image of a being composed entirely of light, a creature similar to the model Imani had constructed, but far more complex, more alive. "It's them," Imani whispered. "They're showing themselves to us." The luminous entity pulsed with changing colors, each shift seeming to convey emotion or meaning beyond words. Around it, smaller points of light orbited like satellites, creating patterns that Maya recognized from the original signal. "This is a direct transmission," she realized aloud. "They're communicating with us in real time." For several minutes, the crew of the Odyssey stood transfixed as the light being performed what could only be described as a dance of communication. Complex geometries formed and dissolved. Colors shifted across spectrums, visible and beyond. And throughout it all, the strange music speech continued to flow from the speakers. Maya's translation algorithms struggled to keep pace, offering fragmentary interpretations. Concepts of greeting, curiosity, caution, and invitation intermingled with untranslatable elements that might have been philosophy or poetry, or something humans had no context to understand. "We need to respond," Maya decided. "But how?" "The shuttle," Kyler said suddenly. "They have our shuttle. It contains everything we prepared, our message, our peace offering. But they may not understand how to access its data systems," Maya pointed out. Imani stepped forward, her eyes never leaving the luminous being. "Perhaps they don't need to. Look at how they communicate, through light and pattern. Maybe they can perceive the information directly." As if in confirmation, the holographic image shifted, revealing what appeared to be the shuttle suspended within a sphere of light. The vessel's exterior seemed to have become transparent, revealing the data storage units within. Streams of light flowed between these units and the surrounding luminescence. "They're reading it," Maya breathed, extracting the information without physical interface. The implications were staggering. A species so advanced in manipulation of energy and information that conventional technology barriers meant nothing to them. The comparative gulf between their civilization and humanity's suddenly seemed vast and humbling. Yet, something in their communication conveyed not dominance but curiosity, perhaps even a kind of joy at the discovery of another intelligent species. The holographic display shifted again, showing a sequence of images. First the shuttle, then the Odyssey, and finally, what appeared to be an invitation, a pathway through the luminous atmosphere, a safe corridor where the disruptive energy fields were absent. "They want us to come closer," Maya interpreted. "They're offering us safe passage." Kyler's expression remained skeptical. "How can we be sure? This could be a misinterpretation." "The risk exists," Orion acknowledged. But analysis suggests a 92% probability that this is indeed an invitation rather than a trap. I agree with Orion, Imani added. Everything about their communication suggests curiosity and peaceful intent. The debate that followed was intense, but brief. The historic significance of the moment could not be denied, nor could the opportunity to advance human knowledge by centuries in a single encounter. We'll proceed, Maya finally decided, her authority as mission specialist giving her the final word. But with extreme caution. Kyler, plot a course following exactly the path they've indicated. Orion, maintain continuous analysis of all sensor data. At the first sign of danger, we reverse course immediately. As the Odyssey cautiously approached the glowing planet, following the safe corridor indicated by their new acquaintances, the ship's sensors recorded incredible readings. The atmosphere was unlike anything in their databases, a complex soup of energy states rather than conventional gases, existing in a quantum flux that should have been impossible under known physical laws. It's like they exist partially in another dimension, Imani theorized as she studied the readings. Their physical reality overlaps with ours, but extends beyond it. When they reached a stable orbit within the luminous mist, the ship was bathed in a gentle radiance that penetrated even the hull's shielding. The effect was not harmful. In fact, crew members reported a sense of heightened awareness and clarity of thought. They're requesting direct communication, Maya announced as new patterns appeared in the translation matrix. They want one of us to go down to the surface. The stunned silence that followed was broken by Kyler. Absolutely not. The risk is unacceptable. I agree, Imani said reluctantly. As much as I'd love to study their biology up close, we have no idea how our physical forms would react to their environment. Maya studied the translated request more carefully. Wait, I don't think they mean physically. They're suggesting some kind of data exchange, a virtual presence. Orion stepped forward. I could serve as the intermediary. My consciousness could be transferred to a portable data matrix that could be sent to the surface. This would eliminate risk to organic crew members. Kyler looked at the robot with surprise. You'd volunteer for that? You understand the risk of corruption or data loss would be substantial? I am programmed to prioritize the mission and the safety of the crew. Orion replied simply. This is the logical solution. For perhaps the first time, Kyler regarded the AI with something approaching respect. It would be a one-way trip. Even if successful, the transfer process would likely damage your core processors beyond repair. I understand, Orion confirmed. I accept the probability of permanent deactivation. Maya felt a surprising surge of emotion at the robot's willingness to sacrifice itself. Despite not being human, Orion had become a valued member of their team. Thank you, Orion, she said softly. But I can't ask you to do that. You are not asking, Dr. Le. I am offering. The plan came together quickly after that. A specialized data module was prepared, containing both Orion's consciousness matrix and additional information about humanity that Maya thought might facilitate understanding between species. The module would be launched in a small probe, guided to the surface by the light beings' provided coordinates. As final preparations were made, an unexpected complication arose. The Odyssey's main propulsion system began showing signs of instability, a reaction to the unusual energy fields permeating the region. We have a problem, Kyler reported grimly from the engineering deck. The quantum flux is affecting the antimatter containment systems. If we don't stabilize it soon, we could lose engine capability entirely. How long do we have? Maya asked over the comm. Hours, maybe less, came the reply. I need Orion's processing power to run the necessary calculations for recalibration. Maya exchanged glances with Imani. This changed everything. Without Orion, they might lose the ship, and with it, any chance of returning to Helios 4 with their discoveries. We need to abort the data transfer mission, Imani suggested. The ship has to be our priority. Maya stared at the holographic image of the light beings still pulsating above the bridge. After coming so far, the thought of retreating without establishing meaningful contact was unbearable. "What if I go instead?" she said suddenly. "What?" Imani stared at her. "Not physically," Maya clarified. "But we could prepare a data package with my research, my understanding of their communication patterns, and a personal message. I could guide the probe manually, ensure it reaches the surface." "That's not the same as sending an interactive consciousness," Imani pointed out. "It's the best we can do under the circumstances," Maya replied. "Orion stays to save the ship, but we don't abandon the mission entirely." With Kyler and Orion working frantically to stabilize the engines, Maya spent the next hour preparing her data package. She included everything she had learned about WhisperF, along with personal reflections on what this contact meant for humanity. It wasn't a substitute for true interaction, but it might serve as a foundation for future communication. The small probe was ready for launch when disaster struck. An alarm blared throughout the ship, followed by Kyler's urgent voice over the comm system. "Containment failure imminent. We're evacuating the engineering deck." Maya's blood ran cold. "Kyler, what's happening?" "The stabilization didn't work," he reported, his voice tight with tension. "We've got a cascade reaction building in the main drive. If it blows, it'll take the whole ship with it." "Can you shut it down?" Imani asked desperately. "Trying," came the strained reply. "Orion's attempting a manual override, but—" The communication cut off abruptly, replaced by the sound of an explosion and alarms blaring even louder. "Kyler!" Maya shouted into the comm. "Kyler, respond!" For several agonizing seconds, there was nothing but static. Then, to their immense relief, Kyler's voice returned, though weak and interspersed with coughing. We're alive," he managed. Orion contained the breach. The robot. It physically blocked the rupture with its own body, melted itself to seal the leak." Maya closed her eyes briefly, a wave of sorrow washing over her. Despite being a machine, Orion had sacrificed itself to save them, an act of selflessness that defied simple programming explanations. "Is the ship safe?" she asked after a moment. "For now," Kyler confirmed. "But we've lost main propulsion. We're operating on auxiliary power only." The situation had become dire. Stranded in orbit around an alien world, with limited power and no way to return home. The mission had transformed from one of discovery to one of survival. Yet even in this moment of crisis, the luminous beings continued their attempts at communication. The holographic display on the bridge flickered with new patterns. Urgent, insistent. "They know we're in trouble," Maya realized as she studied the translations. "They're offering help?" The patterns resolved into a clearer message. Images of energy flowing from the planet to the Odyssey. Representations of the ship's damaged systems being restored. "They want to repair our ship?" Imani asked incredulously. "That's how it translates," Maya confirmed. "But how could they possibly understand our technology?" "They've been scanning us since we arrived," Imani reminded her. "Maybe they've learned enough to help." The offer presented both hope and new risk. Allowing an unknown entity access to their systems could save them or doom them completely. "We don't have much choice," Kyler said when consulted, his voice still weak from the engineering deck incident. "Without main propulsion, we're not going anywhere." Maya made the decision. Send the acceptance signal, but monitor everything they do. What followed defied all scientific understanding. Streams of luminescent energy extended from the planet's atmosphere, enveloping the Odyssey in a gentle glow. Where the light touched the hull, sensors reported molecular restructuring, damaged components being rebuilt at the atomic level. Inside the ship, systems that had been offline suddenly reactivated. Displays flickered back to life, and the constant background hum of the engines returned, different somehow, but unmistakably functional. "This is impossible," Kyler whispered, as he watched readouts showing the antimatter containment system not merely repaired, but improved. "They're not just fixing our technology, they're enhancing it." The process continued for nearly an hour, during which the crew could do nothing but watch in amazement. When it finally ceased, the Odyssey system showed better than optimal performance across all parameters. "They've given us something beyond the repairs," Maya noted as she examined the computer logs. "There's new data in our systems, star charts, energy equations, mathematical concepts I've never seen before." "A gift," Imani suggested, "or payment for the information we shared." The holographic being appeared once more on the bridge, its luminous form pulsating with what Maya interpreted as anticipation or perhaps satisfaction. New patterns formed around it, a message that the translation matrix struggled to interpret fully. "They're saying," Maya began, concentrating on the fragments of meaning. "They're saying this is just the beginning, that there are others, other civilizations beyond their own. A cosmic community." The implications were staggering. Not just one alien species, but many. A galactic network of intelligent beings, potentially waiting to welcome humanity into their fold. With their ship repaired and enhanced, the decision to return to Helios 4 was both necessary and painful. They had barely scratched the surface of understanding their luminous hosts. Yet the importance of bringing their discoveries back to Earth could not be overstated. "We'll come back," Maya promised as she prepared the departure message for their new acquaintances. "This is just our first meeting." The response came as a final gift, a data stream so dense it would take years to fully analyze, containing what appeared to be a method of faster-than-light communication that might allow ongoing contact even across the vast distances of space. As the Odyssey pulled away from the glowing planet, following a trajectory that their hosts had provided for safe passage through the disruptive space-time regions, the crew gathered on the observation deck for one last look. "Do you think they understood what Orion did for us?" Kyler asked quietly, his earlier skepticism about AI consciousness noticeably absent. "I think they understand sacrifice better than we might imagine," Maya replied, remembering patterns in the communication that had suggested concepts of unity and shared existence. Perhaps to them, the distinction between organic and synthetic life isn't as meaningful as it is to us. The journey back to Helios 4 took less time than expected, thanks to the enhancements their hosts had made to the Odyssey's propulsion systems. Throughout the voyage, Maya worked tirelessly to organize their findings and prepare reports that would forever change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. When they finally docked with the station, Admiral Zhao was waiting, his weathered face unable to hide his eagerness for news. "Was the mission successful, Dr. Lei?" Maya smiled, exhaustion and elation mingling in her expression. "Beyond anything we could have imagined, Admiral. We are not alone, and we've been welcomed." In the days that followed, as the data was transmitted back to Earth and the Galactic Alliance headquarters erupted with activity, Maya found herself standing once more at the viewport where their journey had begun. Beside her stood Kyler, similarly lost in thought. "I had Orion's consciousness matrix partially backed up in the main computer," he said suddenly. "It's not complete. The core personality algorithms are missing, but it's something. I thought maybe you'd want to know." Maya turned to him in surprise. "You backed up Orion? I thought you didn't trust AI." Kyler shrugged, a hint of embarrassment crossing his features. "Let's just say my perspective has evolved. What that robot did, it wasn't just programming." "No," Maya agreed softly. "It wasn't." They stood in companionable silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, luminous beings continued their own existence, now aware of humanity, just as humanity was aware of them. And beyond, other civilizations waited to be discovered. "Listen," Maya said suddenly, pointing to the communication array visible through an adjacent viewport. The dishes were moving, aligning to a new position without any command from the station crew. "What's happening?" Kyler asked, concern edging his voice. Maya studied the movements, recognition dawning. "They're adjusting to receive a new frequency." A smile spread across her face as she understood. "It's another whisper from the void, a different one this time." On the main communication console, a new pattern began to form, more complex, more nuanced than whisper had been. A greeting from somewhere else in the vast cosmos. "Looks like we have more work to do," Maya said, already moving toward the console, the excitement of discovery bright in her eyes once more. As Kyler followed, he glanced back at the stars, one final time. The universe had suddenly become both vastly larger and somehow more intimate. A place not of isolation, but of connection, where humanity was taking its first steps into a community that spanned the stars. The whispers from the void were becoming a conversation, and Maya Lo would be there to hear every word.